Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Munich in Germany, one of the most famous beer cities in the world of course. We're going to revisit one of the 6 famous breweries down there that can brew the Oktoberfest beer, and this is one of my favourite beer styles of all time. This is a beer I've wanted to try for quite some time actually. So for this one we're going to do only my second review from the Hacker-Pschorr Brauerei, and we're having a taste of the Animator today. So this one is their Doppelbock and it comes in at 8.1% ABV. I was very lucky to be able to find a bottle of this one, so really looking forward to tasting this beer, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on it. This is the very first time I'm trying the Animator, of course. I've never even tasted this beer before, so hopefully it's an awesome review and you guys enjoy it. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Hacker-Pschorr reviews that I've done before. There will definitely be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, prefecture, county, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then. So the brewery history goes back to the year 1417, which was the first mention of the Hacker Brewery, which was located on the corner of Seidlinger and Hackstrasse in Munich. So the site today is the home of the Altes Hacker-Haus, which is now one of the Hacker-Pschorr brew pubs. So in 1792, the brewery servant Joseph Schorr married Maria Theresa Hacker, who was the daughter of the brewmaster Peter Paul Hacker, and he later acquired his father-in-law's house and brewery, and over the next 15 years he worked hard and transformed the small Hacker brewery into one of the top breweries amongst the other 50 ones operating in Munich. As we always say, Munich had a huge brewing heritage, and it's down to only 6 of those kind of historic breweries these days. But later in 1813 he commissioned the building of the Hacker Beer Fortress, which was the largest storage cellar in Germany, with an area of 43,000 square feet and a capacity of 30,000 barrels at a depth of 12 metres underground. So despite the heavy instruments required for the construction of the beer fortress, Josef Schorr actually purchased the Brauhansel brewery and other buildings on the Neuhausstrasse to build the Pschorr brewery in 1820. Unfortunately though, he died in 1841, but he left the brewery to his 2 sons, which was Georg Sr. and Matthias Pschorr. And George actually took over the running of the Pschorr brewery, and Matthias took over the running of the Hacker brewery. But the breweries operated independently, but they were in very close proximity to each other and to the beer fortress as well. But both brothers constructed state-of-the-art breweries, and they benefited from their connection to the rail network, and this allowed them to distribute their beers worldwide and throughout the whole of Germany as well. But in 1864, Franz Strauss and Josephine Strauss gave birth to Munich's favourite composer, which was of course the famous Richard Strauss, but Georg Pschorr Sr. was Richard's godfather, and he financially supported Richard at various points in his career, and to express his thanks, Richard actually dedicated the Der Rosenkavalier to his dear relatives in the Pschorr family in music. So that was a really cool thing. That's one of the little trivia points about this brewery. But the brewery itself was greatly aided by the invention of the first artificial ice machine, and this was from Carl von Lindel, and they'd been using natural ice since 1823, and this had made it really difficult for them to maintain constant temperature in the beer fortress and to allow their beers to ferment properly. But in 1864, Georg Pschorr Jr. took over the running of the Pschorr brewery, and he initiated a nearly 21-year period of construction, and during his time he realised his dream of building a new large brewery with the most advanced equipment available. But the building was based on modern engineering knowledge, and it was actually built on the circular grounds of the summer cellar in Bayerstrasse. But the Pschorr brewery was now an industrial company with an annual output that tripled over the course of the move from Neustrasse to Bayerstrasse, and during this time the Pschorr brewery actually won a medal at the 1876 World Fair in Philadelphia. Their beer was starting to really make a name for itself. But both the Hacker and Pschorr breweries had their troubles from the turn of the 20th century, but they both managed to survive the First World War, hyperinflation and the Nazi regime, and the Second World War of course. But in the aftermath of the war, the breweries had to share facilities due to the damage to Munich that came from the Allied air raids, and they had to, but they did, however, manage to actually push, and they did get some of their beer exported, which was quite an achievement at the time. So in 1972, economic and physical changes to the beer market led to an agreement to merge the two breweries together, and thus the company became known as Hacker-Pschorr Bräu Aktiengesellschaft, and thus there was a kind of reunification of the two traditional brewing companies in Munich who'd always been linked by their founding father. But the beers were still sold as separate brands until 1975. In 1979, the brewery changed hands and it was bought by Munich businessman Josef Schorgruber, who still owns the brewery today, and so now this brewery are part of the Paulaner Group, which is of course one of Germany's largest brewing companies. But all the beer is of course brewed in accordance with the Reinheitsgebot, the German purity law of 1516. It started out of course as the Bavarian purity law, and these guys, as I mentioned, are one of the 6 breweries within the Munich city limits that are permitted to sell beer at the famous Oktoberfest. And the Oktoberfest is actually held on land that was donated by Josef Schorr to the city, from what I understand. So these guys have a really, really good history as well, and it is cool to see that these two companies that started out as separate entities merged together and have survived, and they're still kept as an independent brand by the Paulaner company. I think that's really, really cool. And it is quite cool that you know, you have these 6 really famous breweries in Munich. Munich, of course, as I say, it's a city with a huge brewing history, and even today you've got the little craft breweries like popping up in the city that are doing some really, really interesting beers as well. So you can have German traditional beer and you can have some of the more modern craft beers as well. But the Doppelbock, like I said, is one of my favourite beers. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the Hacker-Pschorr brewery, do make sure you go and check out the website. I'll put the link to that in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and stuff, but they do have quite a few different beers. I think it's about 10 or so that are produced under the Hacker-Pschorr brand, so make sure you check them out. They all tend to be pretty good in my experience. I've only tried the Helles and the Dunkel, I think, so far, but this is the very first time I'm trying the Doppelbock, so definitely excited about that. So let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. There you can see the RAM, the Animator RAM. It says on this one, Doppelbock and Naturtrub, so unfiltered Doppelbock, and you can see here, this is the original symbol of the Hacker brewery, the one with the crossed axes, and there's the symbol of the Pschorr brewery as well, and it says on the thing, it says Der Himmel der Bayern, which I think just means the sky over Bayern, I'm sure. There you can see the top label that you get on these. I love these little top labels that you get on German beers, and you can see that the little pop top does have the brewery symbols on there. So I'll just let the camera focus on that so you can see, yep, it's done that, and it should be really nice. It tells you a little bit about the flavours and things like that on the back of the Doppelbock here. If you want to pause that and have a little look, it's just saying it has a nice kind of roasty aroma and chocolate and things like that in it. So really, really, I'm sure this will be a really nice beer, and you can see the official kind of Bayerische beer symbol on the back there as well. So a famous Bavarian brewery, this one. So yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting. I'm really excited to try this one. So as we always do with the pop tops, I love doing that. As you can see, nice smoky opening on this one, and let's get it out and into the glass. One thing I should point out with this beer, normally you would drink this beer in either a stein or you could drink it in a sort of tall glass as well. I actually don't have one of those glasses. I know Germans are very particular about what glass they drink their beer out of. I'm not so particular, I have to admit. I do like these little tulip glasses. I think these are the best all-round glasses for the different styles of beer. So I decided just to kind of stick with this one because this was the best glass that I had to be able to review this beer. But as you can see, this beer's poured a lovely kind of coppery mahogany colour. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see there is a degree of transparency to this beer. I'm just checking on the camera control how well you can see that. But this beer is actually pretty much super clear. There was a half finger of a frothy, slightly fawn coloured head on this one. If we sugar the beer back up, you will get a little bit of that head back, and you can smell some of these lovely toasted caramel notes coming off this beer. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. We've poured about 2/3 of the beer into this. It is of course a half-litre bottle, and we've put probably around 300, 350 or so millilitres actually into this glass. But yeah, it looks really nice, pretty much as you would expect from a Doppelbock, although I would say I have seen Doppelbocks that are a little bit darker than this. This one I think is a little bit brighter in colour than some of the other ones I've seen, but the colour doesn't matter so much, it's more about how it tastes. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh. That one's really nice. This one, it's got, as you would always expect with this Doppelbock style, It's got that really nice kind of German brown bready base to it, but there's a lot of brown sugars in here as well. So yeah, with this one you can smell really nice brown bready base, like I'm saying. There's a good bit of caramel in there. You can smell there's a little bit of a biscuity aroma coming out of it as well, but it's got some darker kind of brown sugars too. I think there's a little touch of treacle in this one. And there's a wee bit of a sort of toffee note to it as well. I would say the caramel and the toffee in this one is a little bit stronger. The brown sugars in this beer do lean a little bit towards the sweeter side of things, although they do have a little bit of that toasted quality to them. There's definitely a little touch of nuttiness to this beer as well, and that's mixing in nicely with that sort of brown bready quality that the beer has as well. As I always say, take a little bit of time and just mull over the aroma of the beer, particularly when it comes to these styles like the Doppelbock. I always love two of my favourite German beer styles. I love the Helles beer, of course, but probably my 2 or 3 favourite German beer styles. It's the Rauch beer, the Doppelbock and the Dunkel. I love those 3 styles of beer. And the Doppelbock for me is the one that you just get the best aroma from out of those. I love the Doppelbocks. I love German beer generally, German traditional beer. I absolutely love it. But the Doppelbock, I would say, is probably the best style out of my favourite ones for the aroma. So as well as that, you're definitely picking up some of these German noble hop qualities as well. It's got that nice kind of smooth earthiness that you expect the likes of Hallertau and Tettnanger hops. Probably it's Hallertau that's in them. It's the Hallertau hops that come from Bavaria. I believe the Tettnanger ones come from Baden-Württemberg, if I'm remembering correctly, or from northern Bavaria, I forget. But yeah, you can definitely smell a little bit of that earthiness in there. There's a wee touch of grassiness to this beer as well, but not too much. And there's a little bit of a red fruity character. For me, it comes across as a little bit figgy. There's maybe a little touch of a slightly sharper note to it, which could be like raisins or something like that. But this beer does smell really nice. There's almost a little bit of a candied red fruit coming out of there as well. But it has pretty much everything you would expect of a Doppelbock. It just smells lovely. As I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer. I could sit and smell this all day, but let's actually get stuck into this beer then. So this one is the Animator, the Doppelbock beer from the Hacker-Pschorr Brauerei in Munich in Bavaria in Germany. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, Skål, Prost. Yeah. You know, I'm sitting drinking this beer and I'm trying to think when the last time was that I drank a Doppelbock, and it was actually the Corbinian. I drank that when I went up to Freising and visited the Weinstefan, the original kind of Weinstefan brewery house, and I drank the Corbinian on tap, and it was amazing. And it just takes me back. I had a wonderful day up there with my cousin, and drinking this Doppelbock, it just reminds me of that. You know, have this beer with a schnitzel and chips, some Dunkelbier sauce or something like that, and then a pretzel. You know, just eat the typical German food and enjoy this beer. I have to admit, when I drink beers like this, I really miss living in Germany. I loved my time in Heidelberg, and you know, it's just awesome to go back and drink a beer like this. This is a beautiful beer. The Doppelbocks, you know, it's just an awesome, awesome style of beer. I'm a little bit biased, of course, because I do love them so much. But, you know, they are just lovely, lovely beers. But that's really nice. So as I always say with these beers, sugar it around your palate a little bit and just let your whole mouth adjust before you start analysing the flavour too much. So with this one, there's definitely a little bit of that nice kind of brown bready quality to the beer. You can actually feel a little bit of the nice smooth Munich malts in there. It does have that lovely kind of bready quality. The brown sugars, of course, just start to sit a little bit on top of that. For me, it's mainly leaning towards the kind of sweet caramel side of things. You can detect towards the back of the palate, I think there's a little bit of a darker kind of treacle quality to this beer, but that's not too much, and it's not as prominent as you'll get in some of the other Doppelbocks, like the Celebrator, for example, from Eyinger. This one, to me, is a little bit more sweet in terms of its kind of caramelly notes. There is definitely a little bit of a toffee note to this beer as well. It does, like, some of the caramel flavours do have a little bit of that more kind of buttery quality to them. There's a little bit of a toasted flavour to the beer as well, which is really nice. But I would say that for me, the caramel is a little bit sweeter than some of the other Doppelbocks that I've had, but it works just really, really nicely. And that's what I love about all these beers. You know, they're quite similar in terms of their, you know, the flavour profile, if you like, but they all have their own little niches and things like that. And for me, it's the caramel, the way that the caramel is just a little bit sweeter, that's kind of standing out for me when it comes to this one. And the way the bready notes work out in this is really nice as well. As you go a little bit further into the aftertaste, just towards the front of the tongue, I think there's a little bit of that nutty flavour coming out of this one. There's maybe a little touch of woodiness in there, but I would say the beer definitely leans a little bit towards that kind of nutty side of things as well. The way the malts come out in this beer is just, it's absolutely lovely. You know, I don't think, out of all the Doppelbocks that you'll find from Munich and the kind of surrounding area, I don't think you're going to find a bad one, because, you know, they simply, people just wouldn't buy them if they were bad, to be quite honest. You know, all of these Doppelbocks, as I say, have their own little niches. I think this one is a little bit sweeter in the caramel than some of the other ones. But that's a beautiful beer. There's no two doubts in my mind about that. I just love how everything goes together. For me, a Doppelbock, it's a beer style where it's all about how these flavours kind of blend together. And if you get a Doppelbock right, you know, it's the sign of a good brewery. And these guys, you know, you wouldn't expect anything less from one of the old Munich breweries, right enough. But they've done a bloody good job of this beer. So well done to Hacker-Pschorr for this. That's all you can say about it. In terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, in the back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of that nice, smooth German earthiness. And as you come further forward, there's maybe a little touch of just a very slight, there's a sort of overlap, there's a little touch of floral quality in there. You can feel that it's just a little bit floral towards the front of the tongue, but that earthiness does spread along the sides of the palate quite nicely. Then round the very front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy in terms of the hoppy flavour, I would say. And yeah, behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you find that little oily bubble, where those nice fruity juicy esters start to come out of the beer. For me, the fruity side of things on this one, I would say it's a sort of candied red fruit flavour that comes out of this one. It always reminds me, I say this in quite a lot of my videos, it reminds me of the little heart-shaped sweets that you get in Haribo Star Mix. It's that kind of slightly candied strawberry flavour that comes out of this one. Interestingly though, I think that the fruity flavour in this beer, it does actually have a little bit of that kind of medicinal quality to it. It almost reminds me a little bit of a kind of cough medicine or something like that. There is a little bit of that almost cough medicine-y quality to the fruity note in this one. But as you progress further into the beer, I think you get a little bit of a figgy flavour to it, and there's maybe a little touch of a slightly raisiny, or maybe more a plum, to be honest with you. There's a nice slightly darker reddish fruit flavour to this beer, but overall the flavours just go together absolutely beautifully. The most prominent thing about the flavour to me in this one, it's just about the quirky parts of this beer compared to the other Doppelbocks. It's that slightly medicinal quality from the fruity flavours and the hops. I would say that's unique about this one. The slightly sweeter caramel aspect to the beer, and the way the earthiness of the hops comes out on this one is quite nice. The earthiness just spreads forward on the sides of your palate quite a bit in this beer. But you know, it's a beautiful beer. There's not much more you really need to say about it in terms of its flavour. So in terms of the mouthfeel then, it's definitely, I would say this is a full-bodied beer. Carbonation on this one, it has that typical German smoothness, or that typical Munich smoothness, I guess you would say. The mouthfeel overall, I would say, is a little bit oily, but that's again what you would expect from the style. It's got that nice big oily mouthfeel to it. The malt base, it has a really, it leans towards the sweet side of things, definitely, but there is a nice little balance in there. There is a little bit of a counteraction there from some of the more roasty elements of the malt base in there. One of the things I never understand about the Doppelbocks is a lot of people say there's a bit of chocolate flavour in there. For me, it's not so much chocolate, it's more about the brown sugars, I think, and a little bit of the roastiness of the brown sugars. The hoppy side of things, there's not too much bitterness from this beer. For me, the hops are quite smooth in this one, and then there's a little bit of that nice juicy fruity quality coming out as well. But overall, This is an absolutely lovely beer, and I'm really glad that I got to review this. I think we should kind of leave it there. The unique points of this beer, like I said, that the way that the kind of the caramelly flavours, the sweet brown sugars in this one, the sweetness of the brown sugars are the unique point in this one for me compared to some of the other Doppelbocks. A little bit of that medicinal quality from the fruits as well, and then the nice smooth earthiness is they're the points that are sticking out to me on this one. But it's an absolutely lovely beer. It's not one of the more common ones you're going to come across in the UK at least, or in Scotland. I've not actually seen this beer in Scotland or in Sweden when I've been over there. So I'm quite glad that I got to review this beer for you, and I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. So yeah, the Animator Doppelbock from Hacker-Pschorr Brewery over in Munich, a really, really lovely beer. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know your favourite beers from the Hacker-Pschorr Brewery as well. Let me know your favourite Doppelbocks as well. I'd love to know some more Doppelbocks that you guys would like to see me review. Do make sure you go and check out my friend Peter over at the Clueless Drinker. He's a huge fan of German traditional beer like me. He loves the Doppelbocks and the Dunkels just like I do. To be honest, he was the one who kind of got me back into the German beer after a little bit of absence. So do make sure you check out his channel. He's got some really nice videos over there. But as I say, thank you very much for watching. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. This was the Animator Doppelbock from the Hacker-Pschorr Brewery, one of the 6 famous German Munich breweries over there, and you know, this is an awesome beer. Check it out for yourself, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Until the next time, Slàinte just now, I will catch you guys very soon. Prost.